We haven't had you here in a little while. Tell me a little bit just about the year that's passed up till now. What do you see as some significant hallmarks of what's been accomplished so far year to date?
Well, we've finished the session in March, and I think a couple of really significant things that came out of this session that will help us well into the future as a state is, first of all, we fully funded full-day kindergarten. It's something that we've been struggling with over time. We understand that getting children and educating them or getting them into the education process as early as possible is extremely important. We somewhat funded it last year, but this year we finally bit the bullet, took $80 million and put it into the school funding formula to fund full-day kindergarten. So that's a significant one. And another one, I think, is we've begun the process of eliminating the inheritance tax. And Indiana was only one of a few states that still have an inheritance tax, but primarily one of the big areas where it's an issue is farmland, where you have a farmer that passes away, wants to pass his farm on to the children of the family. The inheritance tax is a pretty significant chunk that's taken out of the estate, and it's not at all rare that we've had situations where they've actually had to sell part of the farm to be able to sell or to pay the inheritance tax. So we finally again
you want to keep the farm, but you can't keep the farm because you can't afford to keep
the
farm.
Right. So we've taken care of that one, and so those are two. Certainly a lot of things that are done, but I think those are two really significant issues that we addressed this time around in the session.
So there's actually, despite rumors to the contrary, there actually are people in state government that get along.
Yes, absolutely.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and there's that perception out there definitely that everybody's always fighting each other, and all of the legislation that's passed is strictly partisan, strictly along party lines. And when you go back and really look at the records of votes and all, you find that the vast majority of the legislation we passed is bipartisan, and it's not the kind of at your throat kind of legislative process. You read and hear a lot about that goes on in Washington, D.C. Certainly there are going to be issues that there's disagreements on, and so we have those, but far and away most of the legislation is bipartisan.
What do you see in the 6 months ahead? Obviously, it's coming up on an election, local, state, and federal. What do you see the things that people are going to be deciding upon that are really critical?
Yeah, certainly one of the big one is health care. And I think everyone agrees that we need to address health care. The question is, how do we want to do it? And in this last session, we passed some legislation that called a healthcare compact, and all that does is say, we would like the opportunity at the state level to take care of the healthcare issues as opposed to depending upon the federal government to do it. We firmly believe that we can do a better job of spending money, controlling spending, and I think the track record that we've shown in Indiana over the last 6 to 8 years certainly bears that out. What's gone on over the last 6 to 8 years is nothing short of remarkable, and Indiana's the talk of the nation. With what we've done, controlling costs, balancing a budget, going from a roughly $2 billion deficit to the point where we have a budget surplus. And we've done it with no tax increases, which is pretty remarkable. And whenever I am around the country with legislators from other states, the first thing they want to talk about is
your budget.
The budget. How did you do it? What did you do? And I think we all, as Hoosiers, should be very proud of what's going on.
Education you touched on early on. That's been a contentious issue statewide. It's obviously something that brings a lot of attention federally, even locally here. It's become much more of an issue. How do you really attack education, and how do you dispel the notion that Republicans are attacking education? How do you clarify that?
Yeah, and that's a good question. A lot of perceptions out there that are not correct. And I guess if you just take a step back, and when we were facing a budget not that many years ago that was in the red to the tune of about $2 billion, our education, K through 12 education, is slightly more than 50% of our budget. So just looking at those raw numbers, if we're going to make up a $2 billion deficit, the logical conclusion would be you're going to have to cut $1 billion of that out of K through 12 education. And we didn't do that. We, as a state, went to every other agency that's funded through the general fund and started making cuts there. And it wasn't until all of those cuts were done, till we reached the point where we now have to address education, K through 12 education. And at that point, we reduced funding to K through 12 education about $280 million. So it was, I look at it from the standpoint that we went over and above to protect K through 12 education in what we've done, and everyone has adjusted accordingly. And the bottom line is you want to look at results. And through all of this, and change is difficult. I mean, I've gone through all kinds of changes, and so you understand why the concerns, the complaints we're affecting negatively. The bottom line is, if you look at results, what's going on in the classroom, we're getting better. Scores are getting better. And it's a new era for education. Some of the stuff that's going on I find very, very exciting. I mean, even stuff as simple but big is dual credit. A student can be going to high school and getting college credit at the same time, and as taxpayers continue to struggle with meeting their budgets, it's a great way to help the next generation of college graduates to pay for college.
Yeah, they get a leg up as soon as they're starting.
Yeah, it's much cheaper to get that college credit while you're still in high school than when you get to IU or Purdue or Wabash or wherever you might go. And another issue along those lines, we've started paying attention to credit creep in college, where instead of 120 hours for a degree, some colleges were upping it to maybe 126 or something like that for certain degrees, and we started focusing on that again. And wait a second, as you start increasing the number of credit hours, you're increasing the cost. Mm-hmm. to students, to parents, and so we're really making sure that whatever credit hours are required are really needed to get that degree. And that leads into another, I think, response from some colleges and universities that are now giving students a guarantee that this is what the cost of your education is going to be every year for the 4 years that you're in college. So you can plan on it.
Mind, yeah.
Yes, yes. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that's very positive in the education realm, but change, again, difficult. Change is, we have to continue to change, and the effect is in the classroom where the scores are going up. And lastly, the secret, in my mind, to a good educational system is getting excellent teachers in the classroom that we pay well, and that parents do their job raising their kids. You know, that's kind of missing a lot of times in the equation, but it's so important.
Mm-hmm. Touch on last bit on education. You've got a affinity, or you've learned an awful lot about a group that's very near and dear to my heart, the Porte County Career Center. I think it's just an excellent model of effective education, very committed teachers, and teachers that are bringing about real impacts on kids.
I can't speak highly enough about what goes on over at that school. And it starts with the leadership at the top with John Groth, and I never miss an opportunity to go over and talk to the students. I was able to, or was invited to speak to their, when they had their Honor Society induction earlier this year, and spend time talking to like 150 kids individually as they were being inducted. Very, very impressive group of folks, and what they're learning at the career school is the fundamentals, the fundamentals about responsibilities and accountability in life, and in addition to the skills to do jobs. I spoke to a couple of classes of nursing. It was a healthcare field that they were studying, and was extremely impressed with the instructors and the students. And as we discussed what they were learning, their job experience when they were going out on the job, pretty incredible stuff. And that ends up with talking to maybe 30 students in a class. 25 of them maybe in each of the two classes had jobs lined up already, either for the summer, or if they were graduating, they had a job that they could move right into. A number of them, in fact, almost all of them, had already gotten their certified nurse's assistant license from the state. Just incredible. Just
These are
incredible.
Juniors and seniors in high school.
Yes.
They're learning very tangible skills about exactly what they need to do when they go beyond high school.
Yep. Again, that's again, perceptions. I think someone that's not familiar with what goes on there, their perception is not correct.
Yep.
And it's good kids that are doing a great job of learning to be able to compete in a global market, and you just can't get away from the fact that anymore any company has a whole lot of options, and they want to get the best and the brightest and the most well-trained individuals, so that they're able to compete in a global marketplace. They don't have time. They don't have time, number one, but they shouldn't have to worry about teaching a new employee that they ought to show up on time. and they got to be there every day. You know, it's the
And you
fundamentals.
gotta give your all every day,
Yeah,
not just Monday, Tuesday, and then you sort of zag on Wednesday.
yeah,
You got to really go at it all the time.
yeah. And it's not rocket science stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's again the fundamentals, and but it's so important. So
We're just expanded into LaPorte County. You sort of followed us back when we were just Valpo, and we moved into Portage. Now we're going out into LaPorte County. Tell me a little bit about any personal connections you've got to Michigan City, LaPorte, the county overall. Tell me a little bit of any highlights that you think we might find as we go east here.
I have always had, as part of my district, 3 townships over in LaPorte County, and it's Wanata and La Crosse. I'm familiar with it from that standpoint. Have spent a lot of time over in Michigan City, LaPorte. Love LaPorte. Sharon and I like to go over there every now and then and eat at restaurants over there. It's a great community, and certainly Jim Arnold, who's the state senator over in that area, and I are very close friends. So been over there a lot. Good restaurants over in that area. I noticed on your website or email or something, you're taking a survey of what's the best favorite restaurants. And we certainly there are a couple of them, and the Heston Bar is one we've gone over to quite a bit, and the Portofino.
Yep.
I think those are 2 that we have frequented quite a bit.
What closing it out, what do you see from a Northwest Indiana perspective? Where do you see some major initiatives happening throughout Northwest Indiana that you really personally are happy to see happening?
Well,
what efforts do you want to help spearhead?
Yeah, I think the one issue that's going to come up is the RD, Regional Development Authority, and whether or not we want to continue that, whether the state's going to continue funding it. So that's one that I'm going to be working on. I think we've struggled over time as an area to work as a team. Mm-hmm. And there are lots of reasons for that, right or wrong. There are perceptions again, and that you have to deal with. But when you at this point in time, it's like talking about hospitals. I was the CEO of the Methodist hospitals, and you need partners at this point in where we are. You just can't go it alone anymore, and it's a teamwork process, and everybody needs partners. And you take the big picture look. It's the Chicago area, Chicago region. The economic development that takes place around the country is around regions anymore. It's not an individual community or anything like that. So the more we can work together, the better off we're going to be.
So some of the Porter County, Lake County, some of the Republican Democrats, some of the North-South, some of that's got to just go away for those people to succeed together.
Yes. Yeah, I think we're making progress, but it's a slow process.
And you probably see when economic times are challenging, people defend their turf a little bit more rather than maybe open up to some of those partnerships.
Yep, you're right on the money. Right on the money. There's a reluctance to let down your guard and say, come on, let's work together. And we have the issue with 911 call centers. That's an issue in some counties around around the state. The Lake County is struggling with it a bit right now, so yeah, that's another one. But again, it gets to the fact of working together. That at times just seems to be a foreign concept.
What, highlighting a couple good pieces, what are some good pieces of news that we might not be aware of or that you'd want to highlight?
Well, yeah, and I'm glad you opened the door, because the good news is September 16th, Sharon and I will be celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary.
Wow, there's an accomplishment.
That is, in this day and age, Chris, you're absolutely right. It's something that we are extremely proud of, and
there was probably a struggle once or twice in there.
Just might have been.
Yeah.
Just might have been. So that's a good thing. And then the other one that I wanted to make sure I had a chance to comment on was to commend you for the first annual Good Life Awards. I thought that was just an outstanding evening. Just all the way around. Remarkable turnout for the event, and what a great concept. Just a great concept, focusing on good news, good people, and
most
you
people
just,
thought it was pretty nuts when we first came up with it, and I think we talked that night. It was a goofy idea that just might work.
Yes, yes. So my hat's off to you, and please keep up the good work.
Well, we thank you. You've sort of been an early supporter of ours, early engager with ours, and we really appreciate that as we go, and look forward to having you back again for another update.
Super.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.